Joining us today is Dr. G.V. Rao, Senior Advocate at the Supreme Court of India, who has appeared in thousands of cases across constitutional law, taxation, international trade, and commercial disputes. Over the decades, he has been involved in some of the most significant matters in India's legal and political history, including issues arising from the Union Carbide gas leak, the Harshad Mehta stock market scam, sensitive questions involving government formation, and matters involving the functioning of high constitutional authorities, including chief ministers, ministers, governors, prime minister, and president. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us today. Welcome to LawBeat. It's an honor to have you here on our platform, sir.
My pleasure too, Mia.
So you've been a part of many cases such as the Bhopal gas leak, Harshad Mehta stock market scam. So what, in your opinion, truly makes a case historic or high stakes?
You see, when a matter has an impact on society, on industry, and it tends to have serious consequences in a situation where if adverse results come, then it becomes a historic case. Let me give you another historic case which probably you are aware. I was also part of the prosecution of the Indira Gandhi assassination in the Indira Gandhi. So I was appearing for the government of India. Now, in a case like that, which is a assassination of a prime minister, how should the courts deal with it? How should the lawyers address the court in bringing justice? So the vastness of the impact it has across the country and across the borders in the world also makes it historic and makes it impactful.
So do you think there is a different approach as a lawyer that you take while dealing with such high stake cases apart from regular litigation?
Of course, without a doubt, because the entire legal team and the courts are extremely serious about the manner in which the matter is dealt with and how the legal team of both sides is presenting, or multiple sides are presenting their arguments and what they have to say, the content of it. They have to weigh every little bit of what is right and what is not right, what is true and what is not true, what is being used to camouflage a wrong. So therefore, it is a very, very important task on the part of the court and those who are presenting the case also to ensure that what they want to say is taken seriously and they have an impact on the court of their arguments, of their submissions, of the material that they are presenting before the court.
Right, sir. So these matters are mostly public facing, public is involved, everyone has an eye, there's a political angle involved. So, sir, my question is, how does your role as a lawyer, is it like different apart from the legal argument? Is there anything specific, any preparation that is required?
Absolutely, excellent question here, because you see, everybody may know the law, but legal counsel who know how to present the law, what to say before, what to say after, when to pause, when not to pause, when to intervene, when not to intervene, all of these issues make a difference. And how much confidence you inspire by presenting that aspect of law which appeals to the court and which is applicable to the situation. So therefore, there is a lot of out of the box thinking that the lawyers must do, even by way of sometimes humor, by way of giving examples, real life examples, which may not be purely legal in their content. All of that makes a difference in impacting the court's thinking on how they should proceed with the matter. So it is just not only the legal arguments, but how they are presented and in the context of which they are presented and the impact that it is likely to have and how they ought to arrive at the truth. All of these things are very, very unique to each individual. Each individual, it is their forte, it is their intellect, it is their ability to do that better than many other people.
So, having government as a client representing the government, how do you handle the pressure and the responsibility in such huge, high stake matters?
When government is, you are representing government, you are representing the most serious party before the court, because the government, we are a democracy. In a democracy, it's a government of the people, by the people, for the people. Every matter gets the people's attention through media agencies like you. When it impacts so many people's lives, when any religious, like recently there was a big case by 9 judges that there a religious, particular religious practice, whether it is good for society or not good for society, or good for women, not good for women, it impacts the whole nation. It impacts people living overseas who are coming to the country. So, in such situations, the government is responsible, and their future, their ability, their the responsibility that people have given them, how they execute it will all come for, because not only just the lawyers of course it is a very important, it is also the people in the government who are assisting the lawyers to get a particular point of view across for the court to decide the matter. You see, therefore, any matter in the government is extremely serious. It is a matter for their credibility, it is a matter for the people to respect and honor that they have brought a certain set of people into government who can deal with it, and though that government in turn brings in the best lawyers who can represent their case.
Right. So, like you mentioned that you appeared for the matter regarding the assassination of the Prime Minister. Apart from that, you've also appeared in matters which deal with constitutional authorities like the Chief Minister and President. So, sir, how are these matters different from the various constitutional questions that the court otherwise deal with? So, how would you rate the level of complexity in these matters, and how do you go about them?
You see, all of your questions are good, but this one is also another very, very good question, because in government and in politics, there is a large section of the political arena which is trying to blame and dislodge the government in power. So, they are ready, fighting every single minute and day to show somebody in pure light, to say they are not good enough, that they should be removed immediately or in the next election. So, it is a huge fight. You see, therefore, a government litigation in every respect has the maximum media attention. All television channels, all media channels like you, all the newspapers, all legal are open with their eyes, seeing every issue that is being tackled by the government and their lawyers in the courts. So, therefore, the responsibility of the legal team, which consists of the Attorney General, Solicitor General and all. As you know, I started with the Attorney General's office. Mr. K. Parasaran was my senior, and he argued that Ayodhya matter, which has had a tremendous impact. So, all of these government matters have a immense impact. For instance, let me tell you, when we are dealing with certain cases of individuals, like I also dealt with another Prime Minister's case, that is Narasimha Rao's case, where a case was filed against him for selling off 100 acres of his land, saying that he had done it to avoid the Land Ceiling Act. Now, it is a personal case in one sense, but it also casts a sort of a allegation against somebody that you have done something wrong, which you being a public figure cannot do. Of course, the case was dismissed, we succeeded in the matter, but in politics they use personal issues to malign the person in power and to dislodge him. So, this is an attack, and in the democracy everything is in the limelight, is in the open. So, even a personal matter of a public figure becomes serious news, whether he did it right, whether he did it wrong, whether he favored somebody, whether he did not favor anybody, all of these matters, and their functioning impacts everybody's life. For instance, if the fuel prices are raised tomorrow, which it may, it impacts everybody's life, the cost of living will go up. So, decision, even the smallest decision, electricity prices or even food or any of these. And now, when we are dealing with government, we are dealing with people's life which is impacted at the lowest level of what they are buying, how college education. if certain policy is deviated from? What happens? Will meritorious people get in, or will somebody else get favored? Defense issues, relations with our neighbors, whether relations with our neighbors will impact the stability of the country, whether there will be fear psychosis, climate change. Huge hailstorm was there, lot of damage occurred. Are we ready to deal with it? So, government is dealing with every aspect of life in order to protect the citizen, in order to help them, in order to ensure that peace and security is there and they lead proper lives.
So in such cases where the government is involved, how do you think decision making is affected when there's government on one side from the aspect of a lawyer as well as the court?
You see, government is a huge machinery. They have all the resources at their beck and call, and they have all the legal support. Fighting the government by private citizens, by anybody whose taxes, who has been imposed tax wrongfully, or in any other manner, is a huge task and a huge financial burden and huge bias that is fighting this huge machinery. So, when you are in the government, one can be complacent, one can have all the resources, all the people assisting you, but when you are against the government, it is a humongous task, and it is very important to use all the skills available at that person's command, the council's command, to ensure and get a judgment which says government is wrong. Generally, the belief is the government may act correctly, may be doing it in the best interest of the people, but many times government is wrong. And it is not a personal matter. It is, when we are talking about government, it is not so much politics, it is policy decision, whether it is correct to particular, whether that particular policy is correct, whether the particular law is correct, whether the application of that particular law is correct, and whether the application of that law to X citizen as opposed to Y citizen is correct. So, therefore, the important is, it is a big tough task for those who are fighting government, and those who are defending government or appearing for them, they must act responsibly. I have appeared in numerous hundreds of service matters where I find a government employee is not being treated fairly. Although I have been a government counsel, we have to be fair. Many times, many government counsels, many attorney generals, Soli Sorabji, whose name I got that award, was very fair. He said, "Millards, the government is not right in this matter. It is not fair to treat this issue in this manner." So, it is also is a responsibility. It is also a difficult task while we are fighting it, and a responsibility while we are defending the government.
So this could be a challenge also that you see in government litigation basically.
It is a great challenge, and it takes great amount of experience. It takes great amount of ability to understand this situation. Many times government of course is, many times government's assistance may not be there. So, counsel must say that we will take instructions if there is a matter which they feel is not fairly dealt with, or it is not there has been mistakes committed or errors committed on behalf of the government. So, it is a responsible task and it is a great challenge there, and at times they are wrongfully, government is wrongfully attacked. As I said, that politics is that the opposition is always trying to dislodge them, make false claims against them, many times wanting to show them in poor light in some way or the other. So, it is both a responsibility and a challenge for doing government litigation, and many times the kind of remuneration that government lawyers get is far less than they would if they were doing private practice. So, that is another issue that young lawyers, or so people who are doing things for government, that they face.
So apart from India, you've also appeared in different jurisdictions. So how do you deal with that, the legal issues that come up with various jurisdictions?
Yes, very nice. I specialized in international law. Till recently, I was vice president of the Indian Society of International Law. As I studied in Washington DC, I went to Georgetown University. I did work in structuring and financing of foreign investment there. I studied in Austria. I did work in American laws and legal institutions. I am a Rhodes Ocean scholar in the law of the sea in Greece. So, I have had varied interests in international law areas, which included cyber law, marine mercantile law, shipping, etc. and therefore I've had exposure at an educational level as well. So that enabled me, whenever there were issues that came up which I dealt with in the Middle East, in Dubai, in Singapore, in Hong Kong, some matters in Japan. Recently I did a big matter in Indonesia, a very big litigation trial in Australia, issues dealing in American law and French. The only thing important here is that once you have a basic training of law, which generally is about 5, 7 or 10 years, many times you deal with it in domestic jurisdiction. A foreign arbitration comes to you, it is being challenged in Indian courts, so you are seeing how it is dealt with, or some issues regarding private international where children are born elsewhere in overseas in the country, they are claiming rights. Parents have had disputes about child custody, about maintenance, about property issues. So you see a lot of it in today's world, which is a globalized world, in India itself. Thereafter, because of your expertise, you are able to tackle disputes and legal matters overseas, and that all depends on your prowess, on each legal counsel's prowess, that they are accepting the challenge, they want to look at those issues, they want to study and see how solutions can be found, they want to use their experience of how to deal with such matters, and a lot of that is education coupled with experience and out of the box thinking. Every matter will have a unique perspective from a particular professional who has an out of the box thinking. That is not just knowledge of law, but a unique way of dealing with the law and applying the law and finding a unique solution to the problem. And that one you develop those skills, you are able to tackle with issues all over the world in any different parts of jurisdiction, and once you have done a few matters, you can, it is easy to go ahead and try and deal with other things also.
So, but as a newcomer, what would be your suggestion how to take up these cases?
You see, as a newcomer, I would say, see, many times it is very important that the initial training that a young lawyer would get in working with some chamber or the other, that would help a great deal. But speaking for myself, I have acquired all my knowledge of law as a self-taught person, you know, whether it was my doctorates, whether it was the arbitration matters, whether I was doing negotiation of contracts, dealing with any of these situations, I've been self-taught. And the first thing I learned, even though I was in my chamber of the Attorney General, the Additional Solicitor General, etc., is that I would never ask my senior how to solve the problem. I would go and study myself. I would read, spend time. Many a times, like in that Prime Minister's assassination case, I would go back at 2 o'clock, and next morning 8 o'clock we were back in the office. Law is a difficult area. You have to be totally enthusiastic and absorbed, and really wanting, having a passion to work in the law. Time is not of any consequence there, and also you may not have so much time for other things to do. You can't have too much entertainment in your life, you can't have too much vacations in your life. So it has to be a passion, consummate ability and skill, and working in the area, the desire to work in these new areas, trying to find solution, trying to help people who have come to you, is what is the most important aspect. So everybody must be a self learner. After that, he must follow the passion in the area which he likes most. Somebody likes criminal law, you must go and enhance it, but must read all the time. The latest judgments are available, there's things which you can see live hearings. So much depends on every youngster as a lawyer, how much he applies, how much he learns by himself, more than anything, and he can practically learn everything. If you in our mythology, we have Ekalavya. He is a Dronacharya, used to do this archery. He gave his finger when he said, "How did you learn so well? And give me dakshina." So he took his finger away. But he learned archery without the guru. So that's the example. I'm not saying people should lose their thumbs to anybody, but what I'm trying to say is that you can, having an ideal, having an inspiration, learn about everything under the sun by yourself after some basic training. That's very important, and that's what all young lawyers must do.
So you've got recognition at global level, like the UNESCO has conferred the Global Leadership Award in international law. So, with respect to international law and arbitration, how do you think India is like? How is it at a current level? How will it deal legally as well as institutionally? How are we prepared?
You see, it's the golden age of India as of today in every area. And Indian, not only Indian legal minds, every other area, the IT area, everybody, India is being recognized. Some of the most brilliant people are Indians, as a matter of fact. In the legal field, we have, we've had how many, 75 plus years of independence. The law has evolved immensely. The legal professionals have acquired extraordinary expertise, not just in India, but just also overseas, in international institutions, in all UN institutions, in areas in the ICJ, in UN offices, New York, Geneva, human rights, every area. Indian minds have competed with the best, and India has also been able to provide the necessary platforms by way of courts, by way of arbitration centers, by way of mediation and other kind of alternative dispute resolution. India has excelled very well, and Indian lawyers and legal minds are second to none. They are one of the best in the world. They are doing very well. And as I mentioned to you, my oldest son has just become a lawyer in Washington DC, and he can practice in Boston and New York, Massachusetts as well, and as the rest of the US, and they are doing well. And they even occupy high offices in various government and legal departments, whether it's Attorney General's office, etc. So therefore, we have really come of age, and we've also learnt through our essential ability of dealing with the IT, by video conferencing, etc. We are able to represent in foreign forums. We are able to view. Recently, I wrote an article about the South Africa case against Israel in the International Court of Justice. I was able to see the ICJ hearings through the internet here, sitting in my office, and able to write to it. Like that, all young professional or professionals of every age are applying themselves to legal issues worldwide, and have got the best opinion, and as well as our infrastructure has grown tremendously. Courts have come to be respected and doing very good work. Feel have a sense of responsibility. They understand that there are reforms to be made, and we are getting on with the job as best as possible.
Sir, seeing your academic background also, you've lectured at some of the very renowned institutions in India. So, how much do you think that students are being taught to handle this level of complexity or these level of cases that you take up?
Very good, very good. Again, all of what you ask is tremendously good and sensible questions. You see, I have been invited to over 20-25 academic institutions where I have been lectured. I have been conferred professorships. I have got 2 professorships. I used to do regular faculty work in Amity Business School, IIM Lucknow, Indian Society of International Law. I have been invited to Jamia Millia. I have been invited to Aligarh Muslim University. Every renowned institution, Jindal Global, and and other institutions in Gurgaon and Sonipat, and I've gone. And the academic institutions are making a very strong and conscious effort of ensuring that their students get the best exposure. So when we go, we share our experience. We try to educate the next generation. We try to catch them young, so that they can learn as the newer legal regime, and the legal ecosystem, that at a very young age, and they are up to date regarding the developments in the legal world right from the college level, so that they can adapt themselves quickly. Because as we go, laws keep changing, application of law changes. Good old days, certain things were restricted. Today, there is with the growth of globalization, information technology, and other things, there is a lot of relaxation with respect to citizenship, with respect to, ownership of property, with respect to, trade, commerce, taxation, international taxation. I attended a very big international taxation conference recently, where these things were, being discussed. And when professionals like us get invited, we try to expose them, we try to encourage them and tell them, guide them as to how they can, enhance their learning process. When somebody like us comes, speaks, and then they are doing their usual curriculum, but they must make efforts by themselves. Then we also educate the faculty staff and show them, how they could, better educate the coming generations. And right across, I have found educational institutions are really, doing their best to give the students, a really a great, stepping stone for a great career in future.
So, any specific skill that you would recommend for young lawyers who want to get into high stakes or complex litigation?
You see, a lot of this is, opportunity that comes, but high stakes can come at any time. To some it comes at a very young age, to some it comes to a mid career, and to some at finally this thing. So at the end of the day, when anybody, like, you see that there are law reports, every day cases are decided, judgments are delivered. If some young lawyer really wants to do great work, then he must try to acquaint himself at least the most important of judgments that are being delivered, so that they can get familiar with it. Because at the end of the day, when you are dealing with a big case, there are complex issues. You must break them down, you must deal with what is important, you must come to the crux of the matter, you must see how the courts are dealing with it. So therefore, it is how they apply themselves and how much interest they have. If they have got no work, then they should hear a matter being argued, a big stakes matter being argued, follow it, see it in the internet, and how the arguments are placed, and then it's a learning process. They must constantly learn. Nobody is going to help anybody who is starts off in his life. They must make that effort and must have the enthusiasm to it.
Right, sir. So, a humorous question I would like to ask: if you were starting your career in 2026, so what would you do differently?
I would apply myself to the AI, the AI tools that have come about. I would apply myself to, the more modern methods of, dealing with legal matters. For instance, you can virtual hearing of the court matters that are being argued. I would look at them. I would do things that we couldn't do in my age. We were in my age, there was no, internet, there was no cell phone, there was no, digital media. It was a different era, but we picked up, we carried on, and we are still, able to deal with it, tackle with it as it comes. It all depends upon the inclination of the person's mind. And but I would be a modern person as much as I can get. I am, dealing with it as we move on. I remember when I got legal software first, SCC. I bought it with a very expensive, it was about 30,000-40,000 rupees, something very expensive in 1997 when it came. And I used it for a case in the court, and then it was by the same judge on the same point 2 weeks before. So I said, "May your lordship has delivered the judge." The judge was so impressed that I knew about his judgment 2 weeks ago, which I got from the technology. He awarded 20,000 costs, which was half the cost of the software to to the council. So therefore, it just came in handy, and it also earned money in return. So therefore, technology, you have to be up to date, and you must know how to use it, and that would be a great help. And you must take maximum advantage of technology. Young people generally must not go after money. They should not think this is the profession is a money making business. It's a service that somebody comes to you. Not all the time big corporations and many wealthy clients will come. Even when I was a young professional, I had people who were, small employees somewhere, or not that very well to do, and they many times can't afford fees. But you have to take up their case and help them as much as they can. And the most important principle is, your rich client will pay for your poor client. So when your rich client comes to you, you can charge him as much. And for the man who can't afford your services, it is not like a business that every time somebody who can pay me X amount of money, I will do the case for him and not. It's a service. They must understand that. And for first 5-7 years, they must understand learning is more important than earning. And they must be prepared for dealing with difficult times and difficult life. And that's when they will be able to, become great professionals. They will have love for law. They will have love for justice, doing good work and getting recognition in the society. And ultimately, that's what will bring them earning. If you are a good professional, if you are doing well, a lot of wealthy clients will come to you and they'll pay you good fees. But even today, if somebody comes to me who can't afford, I recently did a divorce matter for an army officer who couldn't afford services of a very expensive lawyer. We did it, and we numerous dozens of cases I still do of people who deserve justice but cannot afford it. So that's a very important thing, and that's a lifelong thing that they must do right from day one when they are in the profession, to help anybody who comes to for them for justice. And if as much as they can do it, if those people can't afford it, their services. But we try to make the time. We feel that that man deserves justice. We feel that he must get it. I did a matter for a person from Uttar Pradesh who was wrongfully terminated from his service. 8-9 years we did the matter for him. And finally the court gave a judgment, he got 28 lakhs in arrears. It was he didn't have a job for 8-9 years, and he was not getting. But then he said, I can use this to marry my daughter, do something else. We were very happy to help him with that. So it's a very fascinating profession for those who understand the value and who have the joy for doing things for people who gets them a benefit. It's not business. It's completely unlike business. All the money. Many people think rich lawyers are the biggest. They are to be admired. No, please admire a lawyer who helps his client to get justice, and he is dedicated about it. He doesn't want to do something which will hurt his interest. He would try to do his best for the person who comes to him.
So you mentioned about AI. So do you think anytime in the future AI can replace young lawyers maybe for drafting and everything? So what is your suggestion to young lawyers in this world of AI, how to go about their career?
It's a very difficult situation with AI coming there, because AI it removes the requirement of dozens of people working on a thing. It reduces the number of people that you may want to make them work on. With just a few people, and even just an individual person can get a lot of information, legal information, and can get, sometimes even they are making drafts. I don't know how it is done. I believe that there is some draft, but total replacement of legal professionals will not happen. The AI, just like computers, when computers came, everybody said they will replace. They never did. It's only a new technique and a skill. But definitely the number of people who would be working in the area of anything which has automation as a part of their thing would get reduced. So they may people who are, if we have 100 lawyers in a particular year today, they may become 75, because the workload which was on the shoulders of some other people may just get reduced, because AI is doing a lot of work for them.
So lastly, I would like to ask any books that you would recommend that have shaped your thoughts also as a lawyer.
You see, there are books on professional ethics, and one T.L. Venkatramayar, there is he wrote a book on professional ethics. It's very important to deeply understand professional ethics, and professional ethics teaches you how to practice law, how to deal with clients, how to deal with courts, how to deal with people in general. It gives you what a professional should be, because a professional must not himself indulge in wrongdoing to help his client. He may mitigate the wrongdoing. So, for instance, if a person who has committed murder goes to a lawyer in the court, there may be certain things which may help him from having a sentence of 7 years to 5 years. Well, that's also help. Instead of the guy going to jail for 7 years, he may go for 5 years. So it is only to that extent where how guilty he is and how much sentence he must be suffering is all that the legal professional must do, but he must not fabricate evidence, he must not exploit the client, he must not extort money from people who go to him, and things like that, because that is not what is expected of a legal professional, and those who do that suffer consequences. Yesterday, and you would have read and you would have seen that sometimes lawyers are pulled up, they are pulled up for contempt, for either hurting a client's interest, or saying things against somebody, or doing things which are not expected of them. So if a person wants to be a exemplary professional, a person to be respected and doing good work and learn, a reputed professional, he must work in accordance with what the professional ethics prescribe, the manner in which he must go. And also he must read biographies. I would suggest, recently Mr. K. K. Venugopal wrote the biography, Nariman Saab, autobiographies and biographies, great lawyers like Daftari and M.C. Setalwad, who M.C. Setalwad was 15 years Attorney General and President of the Bar. Their biographies and autobiographies, and all of these books one reads about other lawyers and their professional work will definitely give an eye opener and help the youngsters from learning how they should aspire to become good professionals.
Right.
Thank you very much for coming.